Hello, and welcome to the American Dreamland. I'm Max Chavez.
And I'm Misty Stone.
And I'm Chris Locken.
How are we all doing today?
I'm doing okay.
Good. I'm still
It's my day off.
tired from my cross country road trip.
I forget the lie we said of why you were gone. I think you were hunting Bigfoot or something.
I was hunting Bigfoot in the various states, but all I found was a taxidermied penguin in Wyoming.
Hmm.
That's
Oh,
all I
I'm a house
got.
team inspector now.
Oh, you
Ooh.
got promoted.
I got promoted.
They pay you more at least, or is it just like
$1.
Mm.
But
mm,
I don't get tips. Like the tips are for the housekeepers. So if the housekeepers, if like and them as a team get more than $14 in tips for a day, then they get more. They get paid more than me, which doesn't. I don't think happens too often because, as I'm going to get into, a lot of the clientele that go to our particular lodge don't tip very well.
Hmm.
and who are your clientele?
They're mainly people coming off cruise ships.
Mm,
That
mm.
famously ethical means of vacation.
I fucking hate cruise ships so much, man.
Why? It's
You,
not like they're terrible for the environment. It's not like they oversell the deal. It's not like it causes a lot of problems to tourist communities in underprivileged areas that don't really get to deal with stable vacationers. It's not like there was a whole plot line in Succession about just how much horrible crime occurs on cruise ships and can't be prosecuted because of complex legal wranglings.
Also, from the
so,
public health perspective, they're awful for disease.
well, yeah, I've gotten a cold like twice so far. I'm sick right now.
Oh,
Um,
and I'm
As
sure it's all
as the
from your cruise ship patrons.
Yeah, as the public
of
health
course.
person, what is the time frame? Because like, I feel like it's been a while. Like, obviously, there was the probably the one that was like most makes sense and is not the cruise ship fault. Is early in COVID, there was that ship that got quarantined. But I do feel like every like 6 months or so, we get like everyone on this cruise ship has neurovirus and they just diarrhea in the halls. There was a cruise ship that had Ebola not too long ago. I feel like in 2019 there was another like everyone is just diseased and we can't let them on shore.
Well,
And
we had
also,
there was the infamous poop cruise, but those poop cruises happen a lot more than people think. Like, there's been many cruises stuck out at sea that couldn't dock, and the sewer system gets backed up, and you're just stuck on another poop cruise. And then just a couple months at the beginning of this year, the hantavirus, you had other cruise ships, quarantined because they had the hantavirus on it.
yeah, and on top of that, um, so one of the cruise ships that came in to the town that I'm in, um, there was an endangered species of whale that they hit and drug
Oh,
into the cruise ship port.
oh my god.
Um, and recently, some of the people that work at the Sea Life Center in town did uh like an autopsy, and it was pregnant, a pregnant endangered whale.
Oh my god. They killed a pregnant mother.
They did.
If we were in a Law and Order episode, we'd be talking about how many cases of murder we can charge with. Like, did it breathe? Because then it's a person in New York law.
Do you hear this
No,
pro-life activist?
I know. Yeah, cruise ships are uh, Satan barges.
Hmm.
Um, they're
Have
just
any
like,
of
and
us?
the like the port that we have here literally just adapted to get bigger cruise ships. Which the
Mm,
bigger the cruise ship, the worse they are. Just on
Well,
every
oh
level.
as
yeah.
someone from Los Angeles, a city heavily reliant on the freeway, we found out that if we just keep making it bigger, it's fine. So I don't see what the problem for your port's going to be.
Have any of us been on a cruise? Because I've never been on a cruise.
I've
I
never
have
been
not.
on a cruise.
Hell yeah. See, we can say cruise are evil.
Hmm.
We'll never be on one. Most likely. I don't
Speaking
know.
of, uh, you know, bringing this up, I feel it reminds me actually of what I want to talk about today, which is old people who have a complete disregard for every thing else and have made our lives miserable. And I want to start with what are we calling blue sky posts now? Are we still calling them skeets? I don't know. That was
See, I got a new phone and I can't be bothered to log back in.
that's probably see you're
Yeah, I haven't logged in
you're
for a
the
good couple
healthiest
months.
among us, Chris, because you're like you don't Twitter, you've stopped blue
Well, I
sky,
know. I mean, I feel like
you're in nature.
I can't post anymore because like I'll get the madness.
Yeah.
I'll get the madness. I'm too susceptible to the madness of
Y-
posting madness.
you you are uh you're like it's just like in every 12 step program. It's like I I have to stop doing this thing and understand my limits, so I should also stop doing associated activities. Like just cuz I quit doing heroin doesn't mean I should necessarily keep drinking. um
It looks
it
like
is
people still want to call it skeeting.
yeah, I don't there's a whole thing. It is like I don't obviously Nazis are worse, but it is just amazing how much of just like oh, I can't believe Blue Sky didn't work. It's like as I think Chris and I are like technically Blue Sky elders. I forget if you joined in the same round as me. Um
I can join a little bit after you.
Yeah, I think I invited you.
Yeah,
And I got invited by a friend of the show, William Ryan Kraft, who, as a journalist, was one of the special people who got let in early. So I got in like within, like, I think I might even be one of the first 1,000 or 1,500 users. You used to be able to check that. I don't know. Anyway, point of that is like everyone's like I can't believe it's so hard to form community, why isn't Blue Sky like good Twitter? And it's like, do you know how many just insane fights and just petty bitching that happened in like the first 6 months of that website? Like I think the
oh,
top
Twitter.
no on Blue Sky.
Oh, yeah. It's just a
Remember
bunch of
how
just a
how
bunch of libs just whining about dumb shit. Like, oh,
a lot of ultras too. i um
mm.
I have seen so many anti-Graham Plattner posts.
Dude, why does everyone give so much of a fuck? It's Maine. What are you expecting from Maine? Come on,
I
come the fuck on.
I, I gotta say this is like and I think we may have mentioned it on the podcast. I think the thing that gets me about Graham Plattner is no one can be normal about this. And what I mean by
Like, I
that is
feel like that's the best case scenario for a guy from Maine that's that age. Like, come
I
on.
mean maybe. Listen, I am whatever on him. It's basically now support because it's like I don't want Susan Collins to win re-election. But when I say no one can be normal about Graham Plattner, it's not like I remember, Chris, when we went to the wedding a few months ago and it somehow got brought up, and we were just like, it was a group of five people, me, Chris, and then two of our friends who we knew at the wedding, and then someone else in the wedding party. And we were like, I don't know about Graham Plattner because of the Nazi tattoo. And the fifth guy, who is clearly more like centrist or right wing than us, was like, I'm sorry, I cannot have this conversation. You all are wrong. He does not have a. He went on this huge rant about how it was wrong of us to call it a Nazi tattoo, and about how he was a researcher in extremism, which I fucking rolled my eyes at because A, I am also that, and B, like, uh, if you have these attitudes and are a researcher into extremism, you're doing it wrong and you do not understand. But he went on this whole rant about how it's like there's a lot of Nazi symbolism because, like, Polish people in the 90s wanted to just be against the system, and that was the most outrageous symbol you could have. And then, like, later that night, after we had been drinking for like 3 hours, he just kind of came back and said, all right, I finally saw a picture. Yeah, it's a Nazi tattoo. I'm just like, why are you like, just listen, if you hate him for the Nazi tattoo thing, cool, get it. But you also cannot do that if you're a vote blue no matter who person. Like, yeah, like I don't want to talk about Graham Plattner. Like, it's just no one can
Yeah,
be critical
it's
about
not
him.
an issue. I don't really give a fuck about Maine anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
we already know our position is our position on this podcast is already we should just California should just join Mexico, right?
Yeah.
however, we have to consider that I gotta say something. As a weird white suburban kid with a literature degree, Maine is kind of like my Israel because it is where the Messiah, Stephen King, lives. So, and much like Israel, I don't want to have to think about it, but it keeps becoming part of my worldview, and I have to have a stance on it, oddly enough, for racism reasons. So, not a fan, but I think
I
we got to
just
respect the most
I
deranged Coke writer of all time,
mm,
Stephen.
true.
I don't know his middle name, so I'm going to just say it's Lucius, Stephen Lucius King.
Does he have a middle name? I don't
Probably.
know.
I don't know.
That and
Isn't it
also
A?
after Stephen A. King.
I don't know.
Well, and then after driving across the country again and being forced to have Mexican food in Nebraska because nothing else was open, um, eh, we have to stay. California needs to join Mexico.
Yeah.
One, you just shouldn't have Mexican food outside of certain states,
Dude, so like
such as
there's
Nebraska.
one decent Mexican place here, and it's just like this is just like a mid taco truck. Like, come on,
hmm
it's just it's sad. It's so sad.
I guess I will say for Nebraska, North Platte, Nebraska, it wasn't bad. It could have also been that we had driven 9 hours that day and it was 11:30 at night and nothing else was open. But honestly, it wasn't bad. It was a little bland, but I assume they had to lower the spices for the Nebraskan palate.
Probably.
Oh, remember how we went to the psychic fair? Oh, I just realized you're the person who's getting dragged. Um, and we went to get Thai food after. Um, and uh, the it started off with I asked like or I forget what it was, but it basically the obvious question came up. It's like, oh, how spicy is blank? And it's like, do you mean real spicy or white people spicy? And I said, white people spicy. And she was like, oh, you're going to want a lower number. So I said, okay, I'll have a two. And then you, Misty, responded with, like, oh, I will also get a spicy dish. And then she was like, great. How do you want it? And she's like, I like it really spicy. So I will also get a two.
I panicked.
I
then it
know.
wasn't spicy at all, and then I should have
Because
gone like
I also
a
I get now I
4.
remember what started the conversation. I asked what level was mild.
Yeah, I didn't hear your conversation, and I think I was thinking it was, like, on the Thai level.
Yeah,
It was not on the Thai level.
yeah. But yeah. Speaking of white people who don't know what goes in the mouth, I want to bring up the skeet I saw, which was from. I also don't know how to do usernames because I want to give credit. I think it's Jane dot Mean Girls. It's Jane Ost. She skeeted or whatever. Um, that hope you're eating Ayn Rand's pussy in hell with news that Alan Greenspan had died. So that's how I found out that Alan Greenspan died this week. So rest in piss part two. Fuck you, Alan Greenspan. How the hell did you make it to 100? Uh,
He did live for a long ass time, huh?
Listen, you would think that a a Jewish man who died at the age of 100, who basically drove the policies of a Republican president and created untold pain and horror, would only be one guy, Henry Kissinger. But we got two, Alan Greenspan. uh, really an atrocious, horrible person, but also fitting in with the theme of our podcast because he was just a dude with mommy issues who was part of a weird cult and ended up just having a slight position of influence. Um, so yeah, so uh, glad you're dead. Sorry, Andrea Mitchell, I guess, who is your wife. But
They only
man,
they well, I should say only, but because he lived so long, they were only married for what, like 28 years?
I love how you're like, oh, they were only married what 28 years.
I guess
That's
that's long, but, like,
yeah.
I just that doesn't seem like, was he even like, okay, he's 100 now.
Mm,
So how old would he have been when they got together?
28, 72.
70.
72. Was he even in his right mind for the last how many years of their marriage? Let's be honest.
Probably not.
I mean,
Exactly.
here's
I don't know. No, see, my grandpa, he was pretty cogent until like the year before he died.
yeah.
Mhm.
I will also say is I think I don't think the old people in power that we have with Biden and Trump are great examples of like the high level of cognitive ability of old people. That's not to say there's no cognitive decline, but like Henry Kissinger and Alan Greenspan seemed at least able to form coherent sentences when they died. Granted, they also weren't in charge of a nuclear arsenal, so it was less worrisome.
True, true. I guess he only had 2 wives,
hmm
and his first wife didn't last that long.
Well, there might be a reason for that, but I guess before we get really into like the deep dive and stuff, I guess I'll just ask like, what do you all know about Alan Greenspan?
Did he have something to do with the
Um,
Fed?
He was Fed
yeah.
chairman for like 20 years.
Yeah, he's like Fed guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was, like, libertarianish.
Mm-hmm.
He
Very
loved,
laissez-faire
yeah.
capitalist.
Yeah, and I want to bring up probably what is his longest lasting influence and the most impactful thing he had as Fed chairman. A lot of people are going to point to actual policies or positions he defended or implemented, but I'm going to point to a documentary I saw on PBS, and it was about a the first woman to work at the Stanford Law Review, which is when she was in law school. she was the first woman to be on the editorial staff to write all about that. And, you know, a lot of her story, as a lot of women of her time, is just like how much sexism and like lack of support and disregarding she had. Um, and probably the highlight of that in her life was she was friends with Hillary Clinton in the late 80s. So when Bill Clinton got elected, she was like one of the top legal minds. She got interviewed to be attorney general, but apparently is not like the most charismatic or political person. So she was stood aside for Janet Reno, but she was made head of the regulatory agency for derivatives. Um, and when she had her first meeting with Alan Greenspan when he was chair of the Fed, they had a conversation about what she was going to do as head of this regulatory body at the start of the Clinton administration. Um, and it basically came down to Alan Greenspan said, "So do you think fraud is illegal and we should stop it?" And she was like, "Yes, because I'm a lawyer and head of a regulatory agency." And he was like, "I think we're going to disagree there."
Nice.
And she was like, "This seems bad," and tried to have us regulate derivatives during the Clinton administration. And literally, Alan Greenspan turned the entire Treasury Department to basically say, "Don't listen to this hysterical woman. She's dumb." Anyway, flash forward about 10 years after this whole thing happens, the Great Recession happens because of the unregulated derivative markets. So cool job, Alan Greenspan. And I saw congressional testimony where I forget which was the senator, but it was just a senator explaining like every libertarian idea and belief in the free market Alan Greenspan had said in his entire life and career. And he's like, how do you respond to all of this considering this is such a colossal failure? And Alan Greenspan just straight on in a congressional hearing said like, well, I guess I was wrong about my entire philosophy and ideology. Oh well. He just listen,
Yeah.
it takes a certain kind of guy to see your entire belief system fail in every conceivable way in front of you and you just shrug it off.
I mean, I
Atlas
think,
shrugged, you know.
yeah, Atlas shrugged.
Now,
God damn,
it
Ayn
is
Rand.
yeah, it is funny you mentioned that because why was Alan Greenspan such an insane libertarian? Um,
Yes,
and
he
that
loved
has
Ayn Rand.
that man. Uh, it is amazing, and this is why it comes in is like it is. There's obviously a lot of free market capitalism and things like that, but there are like capitalists who are just like I'm very greedy and I believe in money, or people who are just like the more neoliberal of like, well, this has a lot of options, flexibility, whatever bullshit they have, and like, but a lot of normal capitalists will agree like I'm fine with us having certain regulations like not selling children into slavery. I would say 9 out of 10 people who call themselves capitalists would go like, yeah, absolutely, why would we not do that? Alan Greenspan is probably one of those 1 out of 10 guys who's like, well, let's hear the plan first. Because it really has to do, and I think something that really just explains the mindset of Alan Greenspan and a lot of objectivists or people who find themselves drawn to Ayn Rand is so real quick, like his background is pretty standard like immigrant story. He was born in the 1920s to a Jewish family in New York City, went through a Jewish public school system, kind of the ebbs and flows. um and this is going to shock you, but someone who has a weird obsessive relationship with a woman who he will do anything for, wouldn't you know it, his mom might have had to be a little bit domineering and strict, because the dad just ditched the family during the Great Depression. So I can imagine a woman might not have been the most warm and cuddly and supportive figure if you're a divorced woman in 1930s New York who is Jewish and dealing with the Great Depression. You've had a stressful life. I will give you some leeway on stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so young Alan didn't really get started off on the right foot. However, he was lucky because one of the things of why we have so much great Jewish American art in the mid-century is because of the great public education system in New York City, that was able to offer and provide opportunities to a lot of people. And young Alan Greenspan realized that, you know, where his talent lied and what he was most skilled at?
What?
Jazz flute.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah,
hell
he
yeah.
he
All
was
right.
he was really into being a jazz flute player. That's what he was doing. Unfortunately, he had a
Mm,
slight issue with that.
he was bad at it.
No, he was actually amazing at it. He was one of the
Okay.
best young
Okay.
jazz musicians of his era. The
Did
problem was he was in school and one of his classmates is maybe the greatest jazz flutist of all time.
Oh, okay.
Oh
So
no.
his whole philosophy as he was trying to do this
Like I
is,
can't be the very best at it, so
yeah.
like okay, I see.
So he was just like, oh, this doesn't do it for me. But he's like, but I want a lot of power and control. Um, and so he wanted power and control. And he says, like, what's a philosophy where I can be really autistic with numbers? Because he was apparently really good at math, and he said it's because it gave him a sense of control. And
Ooh,
obviously, a very,
I can feel that. Yes.
yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense of like, yeah, I guess economics would be something you were likely to be exposed to at the time, and it's an incredibly orderly system with theoretically right or wrong answers. So what does someone who has a chip on their shoulder that they'll never be the greatest jazz flautist of all time, and an interest in economics do in late 1940s, early 1950s New York? Well, he was having trouble. He wanted to meet some kind of crazy people who were open minded. And he
But in
met
a
this
very
fella.
specific way.
Well, he wanted people who were like, where can we push things and where can we talk about things? And he met a fella named, I believe it is pronounced Nathaniel Bredel, who said, hey, you know, if you have a lot of talent and you don't feel society is appreciating you, I know a group of people. We call ourselves the Rand Collective, and we like to hang out and talk about
Wow.
ideas. And every Saturday night, we meet in this one apartment, and we read a manuscript of a little book being written by a lady we know named Ayn Rand.
Wow.
So,
Mhm.
and the reason I specifically want to mention Nathaniel, as a little background, is he was one of these like gadabout intellectuals in New York at the time. And he and his wife Barbara were very interested in like libertarian freedom philosophy. Um, so when they read the works of Ayn Rand, they were among the first people to kind of join and support her in New York City at the time, supporting this movement, going along with all of that. And I think this is now where we talk about the theory of objectivism. And
Uh,
I I think for
jerk
us,
off
it's
motion. Jerk off
just
motion.
absolute jerk off motion. And for us, it's particularly annoying. I don't know if it's still true, but you could tell someone was a crazy, annoying right wing guy who was way too into politics if they were like, I love Atlas Shrugged.
Oh my god, the amount of people in high school. Yes. War
Especially
flashbacks.
when Paul Ryan was still in Congress and like a weird
Oh
free
my
market
god.
person, he made all of his interns read Atlas Shrugged. Uh,
Oh my god. I
I
forgot
don't
about
we,
remember if
that.
I ever tried to read Atlas Shrugged or not. I think I tried to read one of her books. I don't remember which one. I
yeah.
couldn't finish it. But
So Ayn Rand is her background. I think is very relevant. So she was born in a kind of middle class, upper middle class family in the Russian Empire at the turn of the 20th
uh,
century. Um, And as I'm sure all of us listening to this very like kind of leftist podcast know, around 1917, something kind of crazy happened in Russia that meant if you were in the upper classes, you might disagree with the direction the country was going in, i.e.,
Maybe.
the Russian Revolution. Um, and she is by no means unique. I think the first Russian to win the Nobel Prize in Literature uh, was also around her age and lived in exile in West Germany and was a pretty hard right, like anti Soviet guy. And, million debates. All we're saying is she was in a privileged position. Communist revolution happened and kind of wrecked her life. So she ran away to America and had very hard right reactionary politics. The difference is between a lot of the other like hard right Russians is they were reactionary. They were like, this bad thing happened that destroyed my comfort and my perception of good, so I'm going to be against it. But Ayn Rand realized that while she was in America, that part of the reason for that was because people were acting emotionally and irrationally. So she wanted to develop a philosophy that was objective. How there
yes,
was,
I am the only objective one. And what
I
I say is the best. I am objective.
and it's funny how the most morally she was able to deal with moral relativism in kind of a unique way because she basically said objectively the best thing to happen or the right thing to do is what what you want to do basically.
Yes, you have no obligation to anyone but yourself. That's I want to live in a
Yeah.
society like that. That's the
Uh,
best. That's the best.
yeah, the best society is everyone acting purely out of their own self-interest. um, for
We love
reference,
that.
I'll do my slight niche apologia here because everything that gets attributed to his Nazi stuff was misinterpreted because he had syphilis and his sister just kind of took his notes and said, "Let's make it very Nazi-like." But even Nietzsche was not like the Ubermensch is not someone who just does whatever they want. It's they reshape morality and society to their own morality. So it's not like selfishness is always good. It is you change society, you change the world to be the world you want to see, which is very different than
Then I'm the best.
I'm going to do what I want, when I want, how I want. And I think the best example of that is remember that guy I mentioned earlier, Nathaniel?
Mhm,
Yes.
Well, he was married to Barbara. At the
mhm.
time, Ayn Rand was married to a guy named Frank O'Connor.
Okay.
Um, and he was just like a normal guy, an actor, probably supported her and her ideas. Uh, but because Nathaniel was a philosophy student, a philosophy researcher, someone who really understood, someone who was truly committed to the ideas of like libertarianism and the idea of the self, he intellectually challenged her. Um, and he he, like many other people in the Rand Collective, worshipped her and her ideas and all of that. And she felt something for this young man. She really felt that he had a lot of potential, that there was a bond, and that they had a special relationship, unlike the other people who were part of this collective, like Barbara or Alan Greenspan. Um, so she had a very long term affair with him. Now, I don't want to throw around the accusation of grooming, but I've seen a couple interviews with Nathaniel. Granted, they're like 60 years after the fact, so who knows like what happened in the intervening years. But he was very not romantically inclined when talking about it. And I want to say that the way the affair happened was Ayn Rand just said, like, I'm the smartest person here. You're the only one of the students who understands me. We have a connection. Uh, and we have such a deep connection, then that means we have feelings with each other. So logically, it's immoral for us to not cheat on our spouses with each other.
Oh,
Yeah, I
wow.
don't know how much Nathaniel was like, oh man, we both really love each other and there's a passion and we just carry on this affair. So much as just like, I want to get your dick wet in me and I have a lot of
I'm,
emotional power over you. So you better
I'm
fuck me.
just always confused by
Nathaniel
these
who? What was the
situations.
last name?
I think Brandel or Brendel. Just type in Ant Ran affair and you will get a lot of hits.
I'm just always confused because I just can't. I don't know if it's being raised. Like, I don't know what it is, but I'm just always confused because I don't think I could ever be enamored by anyone this much to join their like group and be like, wow, you're so amazing. So I don't think
I
I'd ever find myself in this situation.
I can see that, but I also think it's stupid with Ayn Rand. Let me put it this way. Another person who had a lot of people obsessed with them and was hated by society, Jesus. He at least was offering like, hey, fellow Jews, the Romans fucking suck. I have a philosophy that will, prove our most radical and fundamental beliefs and also be against this bad thing. So I get that because
True.
it was you already had a buy-in. Like a lot of his followers were like what were known as the zealots, like the Jewish
And
extremists who are taking action.
he's doing cool shit at least, right? He's turning
Uh,
water into wine. He's making like food, right?
yeah, like it's
That's sick.
like I get I'm obsessed with this person. However, the thing I always like when I was listening to some stuff is like Ayn Rand was just like, whatever you want to do is right, but you don't have a right to take something from someone else. And I admittedly haven't done a lot of research, and sorry if this is glib, but like, I don't think objectivists have an answer to rape, for example, which is kind of a big line of you can do whatever you want, but
What do they think
also
about murder?
kind of contradicts because you have to violate someone else's consent. So, like, how do you square that circle, objectivist? Hit us in the comments. Those are the ones we won't read. We'll just know that we don't have to take your opinion seriously
Well,
because
I mean,
you're
I think like the sort of literally going against someone saying no, they would say yes, that is immoral because the other person's saying no. But I think what they would be completely okay with is what you were saying, like the grooming and then doing
oh yeah,
whatever you can to manipulate that person into saying yes. Right? Because as soon as they say yes, then you have carte blanche to like do what you originally wanted to do. Right?
yes. I guess the thing is like objectivists are like, no, we're objective and right, and it's good. And obviously libertarians suck and are dumb and stupid, but they at least have the whole no, we can't do rape because of the non-aggression principle. We have a set moral principle that is kind of illogical that we cannot violate. So they
Well,
have an
even
answer to
for
that.
like even for like regular libertarians, it's the same thing, right? Like as long as they get a technical yes, right, then that's fine to them,
It's
right?
the age of
But
consent. It's not the age of abuse. Join me for my campaign with Chase Oliver in 2028.
but like doing literally anything you're legally allowed to do to like manipulate someone into saying yes, then that's fine to them.
Yeah. It's real. I'm going
So
to emotionally scar you like Ryan Gosling in the Notebook vibes.
so coercion.
Hey,
Yeah,
They'd be fine with.
I know you're happily engaged, but if you don't go on a date with me, I'm going to kill myself in front of
yeah,
you.
basically. Yeah. That's yeah.
Um so yeah, so Ayn Rand basically was like, I'm so sad I'm going to kill myself. I shouldn't be alone right now. um and I only mentioned that because as I said, I don't know how into it the dude was. Obviously it was like a decade long affair, but
He had to be into it somewhat, right? I don't know. Or
I
not. Was it
mean,
consensual? Or like was how old was he compared to her?
he was an adult, but she was like he was in his late 20s, early 30s, but she was like in her 50s. Like
Okay.
it
And then obviously there's a power dynamic because
yeah,
he's like a
it's
man.
more the power dynamic rather than like cradle robbing. Like
Right.
I don't really care that much about the age difference other than it's very funny. Um but it's more like just the like, man, I worship you and would do anything for you. Like, oh, would you now? Well, logically, my philosophy says you have to have sex with me. It would it would be immoral and overly emotional for you not to cheat on your wife with me.
Was this not a is was this collective not considered a cult at any point?
No, because I'll get to that,
They,
but a lot of
well, I
people ended up leaving
yeah.
partially because of this.
Mm.
Um but I want to say, actually, I'll get into like I'll do that now. So this collective happens, and like I said, their whole thing was on Saturday nights they go to Ayn Rand's apartment near the Empire State Building, and they would read her manuscript for this epic Atlas Shrugged. And Chris, get jerk off motion ready again because they were just going like, "This is the most amazing thing ever. Oh my god, blah blah blah. This is the greatest literary work of Western civilization." Cut
Mm.
to the novel is released and utterly savaged by critics. To quote probably my favorite review of Atlas Shrugged from the renowned literary critic Officer Barbrady from South Park, uh, in the episode where he has to stop a guy who's having sex with a chicken, and it somehow leads to him learning how to read. Man, early South Park was a weird show. Basically, it's like, all right, I learned how to read. I'm going to read Atlas Shrugged. And then they have a ceremony to say, congratulations for learning how to read, Officer Barbrady. And he's like, I spent last night reading this utter drivel from cover to cover. And I will say that if this is what reading brings, I wish I was illiterate again. I also want to note how insanely libertarian the creators of South Park are, and they're like, "Fuck Atlas Shrugged." All my homies hate Atlas Shrugged. So not only was Ayn Rand just incensed that um, she was incensed that these socialist critics or whatever hated her work and how it was bad and blah blah blah, she also started to get really mad and alienate herself from other prominent writers in the New York literary scene because they were not defending her, because they knew how great her work was and they were letting their jealousy overtake it from like denying the public the great ability to see this work.
Mm.
I also realized another fun link that happens with Atlas Shrugged. If you remember the show Mad Men, in the first season, Bert Cooper reads Atlas Shrugged, and then because of that, gives Don Draper a like $5,000 bonus, just because it's like you work hard and I want to show my respect for that. Don Draper cashes the check, keeps that money hidden in a box, and then uses it to try and bribe his brother to never contact him again, which causes his brother to kill himself. So
Mm.
another sterling review and recommendation for Atlas Shrugged. It will cause a chain of events that causes your little brother to kill himself.
As it does.
As it
I
does.
mean, growing up, the most annoying conservatives at my school loved Atlas Shrugged. You really, Max, you brought back the worst memories and being a political history nerd growing up as a kid.
Can, can I, let's, this is actually, because it's apropos, this is an interesting debate. And I know it's like, you could argue it's a distinction without difference, but who's worse, Atlas Shrugged guys or Fountainhead guys?
You know,
What's the difference between them?
About 700 pages and some degree of literary merit. I've like read excerpts of it. From what I've seen, at least The Fountainhead is like a normal novel that's just like,
Mm.
I'm a weird libertarian, so I support libertarian ideas. It's not like there's no 80-page section of The Fountainhead that is just a dude giving a speech about how capitalism is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
I feel like
that's stupid. Let me just tell the story I'm trying to tell.
they were one and the same in my school
Yeah.
because they were the main guy I'm thinking of. The ringleader was just an well, mainly Atlas Shrugged, but was just an Ayn Rand.
Hmm.
Loved Ayn Rand.
Yeah.
It's so fucking annoying.
Yeah, it is. I have to say, like, is there a I'm trying to think of the right way to say this, because like obviously there are more evil people than Ayn Rand who have had influence in the 20th century and have done stuff. Um, just kind of talking about the other people we were all sad, made it to 100 and died. Like, I don't think Ayn Rand had any influence on Henry Kissinger whatsoever. And like that man is one of the greatest mass murderers, if not of just the 20th century, maybe all humanity, for all of that. So, like, clearly evil, even in the American capitalist system, can exist independent of her. So, I don't want to say evil, but is there a dumber person who has had such an outsized influence? Um,
Mm, I
because
mean, collectively, I feel like dumb people have, but just a singular dumb person, I don't think
yeah,
so.
Yeah. God, she was so influential. I don't know if today, in the schools, if she still is influential. Like, do you think she's hitting?
No,
Because I
I
am
mean,
not.
she was dumb, but at least she had this air of intellectualism that is very anti, like, what you see in schools.
it
It's a
was
lot
it
of,
was an intellectualism for people who probably like me had some kind of like minor learning disability, but are actually very intelligent just in terms of like raw knowledge. They just can't fit within a structure. And because we have a fucked up society, it's like, oh, the system must be bad. Therefore, I will go to this thing that says I am special. And I guess because I had friends, I didn't do that. So sorry to paint with such a broad brush, but I also think that like really adds to like the stupid people to it is like obviously, especially historically, there are people who let's put this, we're all Marxist. I think we would all very openly acknowledge that we don't approve of how Marx treated his children, which is basically just abandoning them and fathering them with prostitutes. And then the response is like, man, you've got a lot of illegitimate children, Carl. Hey, Frederick, since you're from the bourgeoisie, can you just pay for my kids? Carl, aren't you also technically from the bourgeoisie? Shut up. I'm going to go fuck these other whores in Germany or wherever. Like, but I feel like one, admittedly, like many Marxists, socialists, what have you, I have not read Capital because I value my time.
I
Um,
read some of it. I read like the first 100 pages, and then I tapped out.
I think that's most what most people have done. Capital for political theorists is a lot like Ulysses for English literature people, where it's all something we just say, of course, it's incredibly important and influential, but very few people will actually read it. They'll just lie and say they have.
I don't know.
Um,
I got tired of hearing about bolts of linen.
Yeah, I've
you
only
know,
read excerpts from Capital.
yeah.
I think we've
Um,
all read the Communist
Yeah, you just need
Manifesto, but
someone to read
that's
it for
a
you
lot
and then
more
give you the
interesting.
highlights.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we're here for. We'll
See,
lie
you
and
need
I
say we
you
have
read
need
it and then tell you
the
what's in there.
no.
I
See,
have
we just
Capital
need the
on my
mega
bookshelf.
autists to read the whole thing and then just give you the highlights, right?
Yeah.
Is
It's
now
all
the point where I mention how obsessed she was with trains?
Oh, Ayn Rand?
Yeah,
mm,
Oh, yeah, I knew that, yeah.
oh yeah.
Atlas Shrugged is like a
What?
train novel.
Yeah, he's like a train engineer or some shit like that, right?
Uh, that's the weird thing. I'm trying to remember. So there's a family that owns like a railroad,
No,
but
the character in Atlas Shrugged.
yeah, a character. Oh no, he's a car mechanic. John Galt.
Uh,
Yeah, it's
uh,
like, but still, trains are important. I don't know.
Maybe is Fountainhead has a train mechanic, an engineer?
No, he's an architect.
Oh, never mind.
Or we could just say whatever bullshit we want, because you know
Yeah,
what? My desires tell me I just want to slander this woman. So I'm right. Sorry,
'Cause she
can't argue
mhm,
that
she
point.
she
nope.
indirectly made us have the 2008 crash. Really.
More than a little indirect, because she became very, very embittered when people hated Atlas Shrugged, um, going on about all that. And eventually she just kind of became a bitch that no one in the Randian collective wanted to deal with anymore, especially because certain people started to actually have success in their lives because they had talent and skills and were using them. Um, and it basically came out that she was having this, who knows what kind of affair, but incredibly long term affair. It basically destroys the collective because it's like, wow, that's a really shitty thing to do, to destroy multiple marriages when not even both people technically want to cheat or whatever. Um, so everyone basically in that initial collective leaves, and a lot of the people who are carrying the torch for Ayn Rand are people who met her later in life, or who are part of this. There is one notable exception of someone who stood by her, of someone who listened to her, and was a friend with her until the very end.
I think I know what you're saying.
Who would it be?
Is it
I
our
think
friend?
it's our
Alan Greenspan?
friend. Yeah.
Yes.
It's our buddy.
Alan Greenspan, who started basically an investment brokerage firm and was just basically like, yep, I'll never be a jazz flautist, so I better do money. I'm just going to be making money moves. And then he
Wow.
he
I'm
got
glad he did that.
yeah, he got recruited into the not the Carter the Ford administration. Kind of stuck around. After Paul Volcker was basically like spent 9 years going like, we have to ruin people's lives for all of that. Uh, he basically then became chairman of the Federal Reserve at the end of the Reagan administration, and then served from, I believe it was 1987 to 2006. Um, and I decided I want to take a look at what exactly Alan Greenspan did as Federal Reserve Chairman. Sure, there's this Frontline documentary about how a lady said fraud is bad, we should stop it. And he's like, I think you're wrong. Um, was
Mhm.
it really that dumb? So I decided to watch a little fella I think you two are familiar with, because I'm cheery and happy, and that's how I wanted to spend a sunny Friday afternoon. A little fella named Adam Curtis made a documentary in 2011 that is basically all about how we thought computers were going to make our lives better and just inadvertently made everything terrible and worse. And basically, the thesis of the first episode or the first part of this Adam Curtis documentary is that Ayn Rand was a, these are my words, not beloved Adam Curtis. Ayn Rand was a crazy bitch who like loved capitalism and would not shut the fuck up about it. Um, Brainwashed a lot of people. Alan Greenspan was like, "Yes, mommy, I will do what you want," um, because that is what I do. Um, is Here's a question: is Alan Greenspan a cuck? Because like he absolutely would have done the same thing. He would have slept with Ayn Rand, but she didn't want him. She wanted the other guy.
I think, yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
he
so.
did say single that whole time, right? I mean,
No, he was married to another objectivist.
really? Because he'd.
Yeah,
No, he's worse than a cuck. Because that's just like,
he's a nice
because,
guy.
yeah, because the
Yeah.
cuck's actually sort of supposed to be like with the person that's cheating on them, right?
Sounds like you're about to say Jacob is your lover.
No, 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 no. Jacob is your mother's lover. I watch them, sometimes from a chair, and sometimes from a closet, almost always dressed as Superman.
Oh.
What it says is the so Adam Greenspan, crazy man. Bill Clinton gets elected, and he's like, "I'm going to do a lot of social welfare," and then Alan Greenspan says, "You can't. Um, it's bad." Uh, and then is basically just like capitalism. What has won? We are great. And then there's a bit of a market turmoil in Southeast Asia, and basically, how the Americans respond is you all, hey, South Korea, Indonesia, Malaysia, you all have to do super capitalism or we're going to destroy you. Um, and they all do super capitalism, and their economies utterly collapse and are destroyed within 2 years, leading to massive IMF bailouts and all of that. Um, and basically, after 9/11 happens, in order to keep the markets running, especially because of how shitty the markets in Southeast Asia are, Alan Greenspan notes that, or what he does is he keeps lowering interest rates so that people will keep borrowing money, so that there's like money coming in and out of the economy to keep it active. And he says, this is the best thing to do. This is going to keep the economy working. Um, which is funny because, as Curtis notes in the documentary, we actually have gone through multiple times in world history where a central bank has slashed interest rates in response to an economic crisis. And wouldn't you know it, without fail, every single time it has led to an economic disaster.
We love
Uh,
it.
but it didn't happen when Alan Greenspan did it. It was weird. It's like historically, when you cut interest rates this much, it always leads to a destroyed economy. It wasn't happening. Um, and then we found out why. praise whoever was before Xi. The president or the chairman of the party in China basically realized how terrible this was for the economy, for the global economy, if this was allowed to happen. So what China did is they just started borrowing a shit ton of US money super cheap and use it to fund factories to subsidize goods to sell to America. However, instead of what most people would normally do in that situation, which is reinvest the profit back in, they use the profit to buy more US debt and US loans. So basically, China single handedly kept the world economy afloat in the mid 2000s. Basically setting up for a massive crash for the United States, which hit around 2007, conveniently right after Alan Greenspan just retired. China basically called in their debt, or or too many bad things happened. So global economy destroyed, and Alan Greenspan's just like, hey, it happens. And then he just kind of like fucked off and didn't talk about the economy for the last 20 years. So yeah, that's just wanted to give a little highlight of how maybe we need. I guess the question is, how do we prevent another Greenspan from happening? Do we befriend the weird incel kid and make sure he doesn't discover Ayn Rand, or do we bully
No.
them harder? Thoughts?
I can't befriend them. Chris and Max, that's your job.
Is it because we're guys?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's your job to fix them.
They're so bad. And they usually don't bathe.
They'll only listen to other men anyway. So
I mean, but let's just talk about some of the weird other people who Ayn Rand has influenced and made it annoying things we have to deal with. We had Paul Ryan, a vice presidential candidate in 2012 with Mitt Romney, who got upset because during a profile, once he was named as vice president, he listed some of his favorite bands, and then his favorite band basically went out in public and said, "Fuck you, Paul Ryan. We hate you. We hope you die."
Awesome.
Yeah.
We love that.
Now, normally I'm against just telling people to kill themselves. However, his favorite band was Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, you can't expect anything less from them.
I'm always wondering, what is the people who are in any way have any kind of centrist tendencies who love Rage Against the Machine? Because Zach De La Rocha, not only an excellent lyricist in terms of the actual craft of his lyrics, but he's incredibly easy to understand. And he
very direct.
His most famous song is "All police officers are Klan officers who should be murdered." It's a lot of subtle political messages here.
It just goes over their head. It's whoosh.
The only moral choice in capitalism is to shoot people on Rodeo Drive because their grandfathers probably owned slaves. I wonder where he is politically here. There's never any question about where Rage Against the Machine has been politically. Which is great. Obviously, we got Ron Paul, famous libertarian stalwart, who I don't give a fuck. I'm going to slander them because they're public figures. Named his son after Ayn Rand. I don't know if that's true, but why not? Screw it. Who was hugely into Randian economics, and also when he was between stints in Congress, basically wrote a newsletter about how much he hated black people.
Oh my god, he did, didn't
Yeah.
he? Oh,
Yeah.
so much has happened. God.
Well, in his defense, he actually didn't write those newsletters. They were ghostwritten and just signed his name. And then when confronted about it, he's like, "I didn't write those." And then everyone's like, "Okay, do you disagree with what's in them?" It's like, "Why are you badgering me over a 20-year-old opinion?" It's like, okay. So yeah, we have that. God, who are some of your favorite objectivists, Misty and Chris?
I I think I was just haunted mostly by people in high school, like the conservative groups, because
Mm-hmm.
I've been a young Marxist, communist, socialist for a long time. But I grew up in a very small conservative town in Ohio, and they were just torturing me. I'm not gonna dox the kid I went to school with, but I could. I remember his name.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was just on a personal level, they were just so obnoxious, and then you're forced to debate them in class. And then for me, it was just always getting into the debates, and then you're the only one. At least I don't know if this was a unique experience because of where I grew up. I'm like the one of the only kids in my class that has a progressive or even a liberal take. So
Mm-hmm.
anytime we had any sort of discussion, it's only me.
Um, yeah, I think a lot of times just I grew up obviously in a more liberal area. We just didn't want to deal with these people, like whatever. Uh, we just all, for reference, we all knew that these people were dumb and should not be engaged with. Um, but one of the things we did have a debate about in class one time is we were talking about race. And there was a white girl who was like, "My family's from South Africa. I should get to say I'm African American." So
Mm.
we entertained that debate. We did not entertain anything Randian at all.
Oh, I think I was muted. I think I was just Googling and it said Steve Jobs was a
Yep.
fan of Ayn Rand.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, there's a whole thing in Silicon Valley. Like there were whole communities. Larry Ellison is another great tech person. Basically, all the early Silicon Valley people are huge into Ayn Rand.
Yeah,
Um,
there's like in the Silicon Valley, like there's all that the rationalists or whatever the fuck. Like I feel like that's kind of adjacent to like objectivism.
you know what
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by is how many like people will tell you to read Ayn Rand and also don't or are also very religious when like speaking of like there's not a lot of subtlety is Ayn Rand is like there is no God. If you believe in God, you're an idiot and unworthy of my philosophy. um
Mm.
and it's so funny to see religious like Glenn Beck was a huge proponent of her work. um
Gone back.
uh yeah.
Get out the chalkboard.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, Chris, we don't need a chalkboard anymore. We can talk to George Washington.
Oh, AI George
Yeah,
Washington. Oh, I love it. It's the
that
best.
man has such a that man has such just like a hard on for the founding fathers.
He does. I bet if he was like a lot younger, he'd be one of those Miku Binder Thomas Jefferson people. Remember that?
I love Miku Binder, Thomas
He'd be really
Jefferson.
into Hamilton.
Yes.
And he'd be like,
Oh
yes,
my
Thomas
god. We
Jefferson.
should that should be a bonus episode. We all get really high and try to sit through Hamilton.
Oh my god. I've already
See,
me and Max have already tried to do that, and it
All
did
right,
not work
so
at all.
I've only seen 5 minutes of Hamilton. That's all I've gone through.
all right,
No, we got so high, and then we put it on, and we're just like, "Are they ever gonna stop singing?" Because we didn't know that it was a musical,
neither
not
of
like.
us knew it wasn't a normal musical where it's like, let's do some acting. Event happens, let's sing a song about it. We didn't know it was one continuous song, so we were so high. We just started like looking at each other around like 10-15 minutes, and we're both like, it's super weird this song is going on this long, right?
Like, when are they gonna stop singing? Fuck's sake!
Like, it really fucked with our sense of time. And then like I think I'm the one who lost it. It's just like, I got it, and I paused it, and we realized we were 45 minutes in, and we're like, oh, I guess they're just doing a lot of different songs.
We do shrooms.
No,
No.
that's gonna be a bad trip. That's gonna be a bad trip.
Yeah, I
We
think I
get
need to do
haunted by Hamilton.
you know how people are like, oh, I gotta do a reset. I gotta do it the opposite. I need to do a shroom trip where nothing happens after my last experience, to make sure I won't like experience ego death while watching Hamilton.
No, I think you just can't handle shrooms, man. And I think you should not do shrooms.
It was my other two trips were fine.
I guess. I don't know.
Anyway,
We lock you in a room, Max, where it's like a dome, all screens, and it's just playing Hamilton.
See if you can get into one of those sensory deprivation tanks.
Tanks.
And just do
Hell
shrooms,
yeah.
see what happens.
you know,
if you have a bad trip when you do that, then you should definitely never do shrooms again.
This is all sounding complicated. I think I'm just gonna talk to a guy who knows a guy, pop a few in, and then watch the David Cronenberg classic Videodrome. I'm sure it'll be fine.
No, not Videodrome. Come on.
All right, fine, Perfect Blue. Anyway, I randomly rewatched that last weekend, and it's such a good movie, but it is such a mindfuck. Oh yeah, my favorite part of the Hamilton story though is we're like so freaked out and like needing to come down. We're just like, I don't know. Okay, we need to do something. And we're like, what do we watch? And we're like, what's a short movie that's not gonna freak us out? And the first like sub 90-minute movie we see is My Friend Totoro. So we're like, great, let's watch it. And then we watch My Friend Totoro. And I don't think Chris had ever seen it, because at around like the 30-minute mark, he's like, where is the conflict in this story?
Yeah, there's nothing.
And then like 10 minutes later, we find out like the mom is sick or something, and he's like, fucking finally.
It's My Neighbor Totoro.
My apologies. My Neighbor Totoro. So we then just like watch it, and it's like, okay, that was a fun, cute movie. And then like 2 days later, I like make a joking reference to like how annoyed Chris was that there was no conflict in that movie, and he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, what? It's like, I've never seen My Neighbor Totoro in my entire life. I'm like, dude, I was sitting next to you.
I literally do not remember anything that happened in that movie other than like the mom getting sick. Like, I couldn't name any of the characters. I think is the main character a little girl, right?
Yeah.
There's two little girls.
Oh,
there's a cat bus.
I don't remember.
They take the cat bus. It's a bus that's a cat.
I literally don't remember anything. I was too high.
It's a good movie.
I think watching Hamilton was too scarring for him.
Well, you know,
also,
this
can I
could be
just
a good
note
place.
that I did not. I did it last time, but I did not do this last time. This is the second time I have talked about Miku Binder Thomas Jefferson this week.
Oh yeah? Where was the other time?
I went to trivia with our friend, whose name I won't say. But I went to trivia with a friend, and we were just like chatting in between rounds at a bar, and we just somehow came up.
Oh yeah.
I think we were talking about Hamilton, and I was just making fun of it, and like that was the first thing that came to mind.
I do love Miku Binder Thomas Jefferson. Is one of my favorite things.
Mm,
And I think that's a great place to end, to be honest.
yeah.
For American Dreamland. I'm next on this.
I'm Misty Stone.
I'm Chris Locken.